Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rebecca and I am the Clueless Homemaker. I call myself the Clueless Homemaker because I am clueless about a lot of things. Yesterday there was sun. At my church we have an awesome group. It's called MOMS, which stands for Moms on a Mission. And this group has blessed me in so many ways over the past 5 or 6 years that I've been going. Recently, I've started guest speaking for them, and it has been awesome, so amazing. And God has taught me so much about me and Him and life through the group, through me speaking, through other people speaking. It's seriously been such a blessing. So the group meets the first Friday of every month, September through May. And I'm going to put the link below. You can watch it live on their Facebook page. And I think that you'll really be blessed by it too. So the first Friday of the month at 8:45. Recently, just last week, I spoke. Each month, it's broken up into 3 different speakers, and each speaker speaks for about 20 minutes, and the topics are love, learning, and living. Love, learning, and living. Yes. So the living section is about just being a Christian woman in today's day. The learning section is about teaching your kids, and the loving section is about marriage. So each month there's a different topic. The topic for October was peace, and they asked me to speak on peace in marriage, which just proves that God has a sense of humor, because part of the reason that I call myself the Clueless Homemaker is because I am not great at marriage. I've been married for 12 years and I'm just not good. I fight with my husband a lot. We are both super passionate. We both love each other deeply, but we also fight hardcore. So anyway, I had to talk about 20 minutes on peace in marriage, which I thought would be hard for me to do. But the fact is, it doesn't matter whether I know how to have a peaceful marriage. He knows how to have a peaceful marriage. And by he, I don't even mean my husband, because he is also sucks at marriage. I mean God. So anyway, I thought I would share with you today what I talked about. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you glean something from it. I hope that if your marriage is anything like mine, it might just help you get closer to your husband in some way. And if not, if you have an awesome, peaceful marriage already, then way to go. Seriously, I mean that from the depths of my heart, because marriage is really freaking hard. Please comment below how you do it. I would love your help, any help that you can give me. I also talk about a couple different things in this talk, like a research study that was done and published in Reader's Digest, and I will link that below. And without further ado, here I am. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so I had a hard time getting here this morning. Lots of different things happened. I'll have you know that my makeup is all my 11-year-old daughter's dollar store makeup, because I couldn't find mine. That was just one of the many things that happened. So someone said, we know who that was trying to stop you from speaking. I don't know. It could have been Satan. It could be the Lord. You guys judge at the end. We'll see. Okay, so my name is Rebecca. For those of you who don't know me or my family, this is my husband, Ryan. That isn't his real hair. He wishes that it was. This isn't Halloween either. This is just a fun date night. So this part of our relationship is what keeps us married, in all honesty, because the fact that I'm speaking to you on peace in marriage is the funniest thing ever. Our marriage is passionate. There's a lot of love. I would not say that it's peaceful, but preparing for this has forced me to be a more peaceful wife. So we'll talk about that. And then these are our little ones. That's who I got the makeup from, Ryland and Radley. And then there is a third person in our marriage. I guess a fourth. The Lord is in our marriage, even though it's not peaceful. And that's my husband's, he calls that his bird wife. His, that's Peaches. I hate Peaches. They have a really weird, it's weird. Anybody who knows them, who's been to my house, Peaches has her own Instagram. You can see how kind of creepy it is. But anyway, so that's my little family. So what's actually funny is, over the course of, I would say the last 6 months, Brian, my husband, has been saying to me, like, he'll say something to kind of get me inflamed, sort of, and then he'll say, I just want peace. I just want peace. So this has literally been his mantra for the past 6 months. I just want peace. I just want peace. And meanwhile, I'm like, no. I'm the one who wants peace. I'm the one trying to bring peace into this marriage. And, then that just causes, like, a big fight, and that's how it goes. So he's been saying this, and it has actually forced me to think about what peace means in context of our marriage before Dee Dee even asked me to speak today, which is interesting. It's the Lord. So I guess the Lord does speak through him sometimes. All right, so anyway, when he would say it to me, I would feel like, well, what is he saying? That I want what? I don't want peace? I'm trying to bring strife to our marriage? I'm trying to bring anger? No, I'm the one that's trying to bring this, unified, godly relationship. Or so I thought. Proverbs 21:2 says, a person may think their own ways are right, but the Lord weighs the heart. And our hearts are definitely full. They're just full of both of us thinking that we're right and both of us being totally wrong. We have been, in our marriage, full of selfishness, bitterness, also full of love, which sounds like they can't live together, but I do believe they can. Hopefully there's some of you out there today that also have marriages that are a little bit like, this can't be what God wants for us, but we're still going to stick in it, and doesn't matter how many marriage counselors we're going through, we're going to get it done. So I believe that peace could only be obtained through true intimacy with my husband, like knowing him inside and out. And I read a Reader's Digest article a few years ago about a psychologist who believed they had found the formula to make any two people fall in love. And, to make a man and a woman fall in love. He had compiled a list of 36 questions, and the idea is you're supposed to ask these questions back and forth to each other, and then the questions take 45 minutes to an hour, and then after that, you're supposed to stare into each other's eyes for 4 minutes. I thought it sounded like a wonderful idea. My husband did not. But just to give you an idea, the questions start off a little bit, a little easy. This is the first question. Given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want as a dinner guest? Easy thing to talk about. But they end with question 36. How many hemorrhoids do you have? Rank them from smallest to biggest. So you really get personal. No, I'm just kidding. The last question is really, share a personal problem and ask your partner's advice on how he or she might handle it. Also, ask your partner to reflect back to how you seem to be feeling about the problem you have chosen. So they just get more and more intimate, and then you stare at each other for 4 minutes. So I actually printed off the 36 questions. They're on the back if you guys want to take them. Maybe your husbands will do it with you. Mine would not. So when I asked him, I was like, let's do this. This article sounds great. And he said no. And I didn't understand why. But he explained to me, it feels like you're putting me under a microscope, and anything I say is going to be wrong. I'm sure in that 36, I probably would have told him, no, I don't think that's really the right answer there. And then, after judging him for an hour, we were going to stare at each other for 4 minutes, and
still silently be judging him. I thought it sounded like a great date. He thought it sounded like being audited by the IRS. So that's how he described it to me. But I really thought that if I could really just know everything about him, every thought, every dream, all of that, that then we could have real intimacy, and then I would really have real compassion on him, and then we would never fight, because you don't fight with somebody when you have compassion on them. You're able to see things from their perspective. So when I started preparing for this, we actually sat down in the kitchen, and I said, hey, this is what I'm thinking leads to real peace in marriage. And he said, no, I don't think that's what it is. I think that's what this is. You don't need to really know somebody to do this. And I'm like, no, I'm not kidding. It ended with him saying, can we stop? Can we stop? And me saying, well, when are we going to talk about this again? Like, it literally turned into an argument talking about peace in our marriage. So when I said to him, though, really, though, what is peace to you? What do you think peace in marriage is? His answer was sex and sandwiches. So, Beth?
Sorry, Rebecca, it was inappropriate.
Oh, the slide? No, we don't have a slide for sex and sandwiches. Okay, no problem. Don't Google it, ladies. It sounds very archaic and like, would a man like to say sex and sandwiches? But it actually is the way God made them. And so I want to, like, a little pause here to say that there are some of us who, there are probably quite a bit of us in this room who have been hurt in that area in ways that God did not intend. So please take what I'm going to say in this area with a grain of salt. You know, okay? Just take it with a grain of salt. Like, I don't want anybody feeling like I'm saying you have to do this or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. And all of our mental health is more important than what I'm saying right now. So, okay, let's get back into it. So, sex and sandwiches. And it seems so like, you know, that doesn't make sense. Because God made me that I need to, like, feel this connection and, you know, stare into each other's eyes for 4 minutes before we can be physically intimate. But God didn't make him that way. He made him that physical intimacy leads to this feeling of closeness and the same feelings that I wanted to achieve from the staring at each other for 4 minutes. So it seems like, what the heck, God? Like, you know, what's going on here? But I believe that he does that on purpose to force us to come together and see things from each other's side. Because if we're both sort of meeting each other's needs, then those things will get taken care of. Well, I'll just read you guys this quote. Making love literally creates a deep feeling of attachment to his partner and spurs relational generosity, faith, and optimism. Being desired by his partner can be the single most reassuring part of his relationship. So it's not just like the act, it's also the like knowing that he's desired and wanted and all of that. So it feels like we're at an impasse here. I need intense soul searching and staring into his eyes, and he needs like food and physical intimacy, which makes it feel like it's hopeless, but it's not. Ecclesiastes 4:12 says, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So it's not just my husband and me, or my husband and me and Peaches. God is also in the relationship. And he is the ultimate peacemaker and peacekeeper. The Hebrew word for peace is shalom. And in the New Testament, it's referred to as sound mind. Many references in the Old Testament refer to peace as the absence of war or battle. In marriage, unforgiveness and fermenting anger produce many battles. Which, man, that is like, full disclosure here, even last night, we got into a little tiff about something, and I normally make him lunch like in the morning, and last night when I was like slamming the dishes, I was like, no, God, I'm not doing it. I'm not making him lunch. I'm going to let this go all night, and then I'm going to get up there and I'm going to talk to them about being peaceful and married, and it's going to be all good. And he's like, Rebecca, and I was like, no, I wouldn't hear it. So I didn't make his lunch, and then he texted me and said I forgot my lunch because he made it. And then I felt like such a jerk and felt so bad. But, that's what fermenting anger will do. And also, he did apologize to me this morning, but only because he knew I was going to be talking about him to you guys. Like, that would not have happened any other time. Next week, that same fight, he won't apologize. So anyway, okay, so fermenting anger and unforgiveness is just the opposite of peace in marriage. We need to learn to forgive. Peace is a direct byproduct of Isaiah 26:3, which says, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you." Our spouse's job is to complement us, not to complete us. That role belongs only to Jesus, which is definitely in my marriage a role that I've tried to give to my husband. Like, it's your job to make me feel this, this, and this. And he's been very clear, in no uncertain terms, that no, that's not my job. So, yeah, that job belongs to the Lord. And it's our job to seek him, the Lord, not our husbands, to have that filled. So when I make my joy and peace contingent upon my husband, that's ultimate idolatry. To treasure and depend on him more than God is idolatry. And no idols is such a big deal to God that he made it one of the 10 Commandments. Like, it's big. So the only cure for anxiety, disappointment, and disillusionment in marriage is found in Isaiah 26:3, which we talked about a minute ago, and Philippians 4:6-7, which says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." So, I know it's like so easy to be like, okay, so if you want peace in your marriage, you just have to pray and thank God. But really, that is what you have to do. And it's not just going to God. And again, know that I say this as the person who does not do this most of the time. Or, I do it eventually, it just takes me a long time to get there. It's not just going to God and being like, hey, you need to change him. This guy that, you stuck me with, look, you need to fix this guy. We're supposed to be going to God, thanking him for our husbands, for our families, for this life, and petitioning him for a change, for our hearts to grow closer to God, for his heart to grow closer to God, and in that, we'll grow closer to each other. Jackie Kendall, who is one of my all-time favorite people in the world, if you don't know who she is, her ministry is called Power to Grow Ministries. She's got an amazing, amazing testimony. But she says that marriage is the most sanctifying instrument of God to conform us to the image of Jesus. Which, man, like, I'm in for it, it's going to take a long time to conform me to his image because it's hard. It's really hard work living with this other person and his bird. So too many couples end up with false peace and false intimacy because they are more focused on each other than focused on the Lord. Dr. Leslie Parrott, who is that's funny. I just got that. Her name is Peaches. I'm not referring, this word is not giving me marital advice, although she does give my husband marital advice, he tells me. Anyway, like get rid of her, she can't sleep in the bed tonight, stuff like that. But anyway, she says, if you try to build intimacy with another person before you have done the hard work of becoming whole on your own in Jesus, then all of your relationships, so not just your marriage, all of them become an attempt to complete yourself, and it set you up for failure. Peace in marriage is ultimately about intimacy with your Heavenly Father. So, okay, we know that, this is what I think, and I think a lot of women think the way that I think. Here's what my husband thinks and what a lot of guys think. Here's what God thinks. So, in addition to all that, there's also a real enemy of our marriage. Because if marriage is the single biggest thing to conform us to the image of Christ, then our enemy is going to try to, knock that down. So, there are things in life that once we see them, we can't unsee them. And I have a couple of slides. Okay, so here's a drowning sign. There's a person calling for help. But once you see that it says drowning LOL. That's all you'll see next time. Okay. So here's a cute pug, but once you see the Batman symbol on his head, that's all you're going to be able to see. This is my favorite. Because I do think that. Do you guys think that about the purse holders? Like, it does look like a drunk octopus. And that's all I think now when I'm in the restroom. Or this one, I think is so cool. God has such a sense of humor. That's an anteater, but see his arm looks like a panda bear? Isn't that cute?
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. And like, if that's all you can see now. Like, I don't even see the anteater anymore. And then, this is kind of small, but can you see the little penguins on that caterpillar's back? Isn't that cute? And, did you see it? Okay. All right, so this is my favorite one. This is one that my husband and I discovered. Do you see that Tom Cruise's, this tooth is right in the center of his mouth? Like, not where it should be, but do you guys see that? Can you see it? That tooth is right in the center of his mouth instead of being like shifted over like the rest of us. That is all you will be able to see. Like for the rest of the Mission Impossible, I promise you, that's all we talk about now. If he is in a movie, that's all we're like, look at that tooth, look at that tooth. You're welcome. So that's all you're going to be able to see now going forward. So there is something called confirmation bias. And what that means is the things that we think we're going to see are the things we keep seeing. Like, if you get a car, then all of a sudden you just see that car everywhere. So it relates the same way to our husbands. Like, I won't name any names because somebody's in this room, but my best friend and I walk a couple mornings a week, and I complain about my husband a lot. In fact, I'll get home and he'll be like, I hope you guys weren't talking about me. Yes, we were. And then what happens is, the rest of the day I'm like, he did that thing again. That thing I just talked to her about, he did it again. But really, it's just me like looking for it. You know, if I was looking for the good things, like if I was looking for the fact that, I homeschool our kids, and it's like the greatest joy of my life and the thing I wanted to do most. And he's not like totally like, yeah, I wanted to be a homeschool dad, but he knows that it's what I want. So I could choose to see that, but instead I see like the bad. Or when he does stuff around the house, I'm like, well, he made the bed, but he didn't do a very good job. Like instead I could be like, no, but look what he did, he made the bed. And I could focus on those things. Because my confirmation bias is going to see whatever I'm training it to see. So the more that we train it, the more we'll see the good things. So what happens is, Satan uses this, because we're like, I was just saying about this, that he does this, and he's like, yeah, look, he's doing it again. See that? See what he just did? Oh, listen to the way he talked to you. He's not really sorry when he said he was sorry. Oh, listen to that. You know what I mean? So Satan is using this thing that we all naturally do against us. Don't let him do it. It's easier said than done, but just try not to let him do it. So he uses these things as like poison in our marriage, and then we just like simmer in it, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. Then The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I think most of us have seen the movie or read the book. There's a white witch, and she's really bad, and she represents Satan. And then there's Aslan the lion, who like represents Christ. And so the white witch has been collecting all these people for all of these years and turning them into stone and storing them in her castle. And then Aslan comes, and they run into the castle, and he breathes life into all these statues. And that is the army. When they go out and meet her, she's defeating the good army. And then those statues get out there, and then they defeat her. And so she thought that she was like turning all these people into stone, but really she was just storing the army for the Lord, or for Aslan, who represents the Lord. And so in the same way, I think the things in our marriage that bring us so much hurt and turn our hearts to stone towards our husband, big and small, adultery, toothpaste in the sink, verbal abuse, or leaving his clothes on the floor. Like all of those things that can turn our hearts to stone, they can either turn our hearts to stone and they can remain like that. Or we can say, God, you need to breathe life, because I'm trusting that these are going to be the things They're going to turn my heart soft again and are going to defeat my enemy in the end. And it's really hard to do, and it takes a lot of time, but we can do it. I think that we can all do it. Okay, so the things that I thought were peacemakers in my marriage, the intimacy and staring into each other's eyes and talking about everything, those aren't bad things. The Lord wants us to know our spouse's heart. They're not bad things. And the same token, the things that my husband thinks bring peace into a marriage, food and sex, those aren't bad things. Those are things designed by God for us. So those are also good things. But it's when we focus on those things and not what God has made to bring peace in our marriage that we get into trouble, and that we have gotten into trouble. So as just like a take home, because I'm going to do this, if you guys want to do it with me, let's try to focus on the good that he does. I'm not talking about ignoring things, but focus on the good so that Satan can't use that confirmation bias. And seek first God to make us better wives, him a better husband, and then all those other things, the 36 questions, making sandwiches, you know what I mean? Do those things. Just not the sandwiches and the physical intimacy together, unless that's your thing. If that's your thing, then go for it, girls. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to pick up your questions at the bell.
All right, so there it was. I hope you guys liked it. I hope that you, I hope that it helped you somehow. And if it did help you, it's so funny because it shows, again, in the Bible there's a part where the Lord has a donkey talk to somebody. And that's how I felt doing this talk. Like a real jackass sharing about something that I'm failing in. But anyway, please give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys really soon in my next video. Bye.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain.